All right, so this is pretty cool. Love the opportunity to sit down with one of our good friends here, and that would be Bookie Gates. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to be here.
It's been too long, so it's good to get you back in. I got a whole bunch of things I got to catch up with you on. We want to hear what you guys are up to with Baseball Beyond Borders, all of that. But let's just start with spring training because I went down a couple weeks later. You went down. What'd you see down there? Who jumped out?
I saw greatness on display. First, it's the coaching staff, right? I think we often don't put much emphasis around the coaching, but not just Dan Wilson, obviously, as your manager, but you got Edgar there, Mike Cameron. You're looking at Bones, Perry Hill, and I think Perry Hill's underrated.
I wasn't sure which bone you meant. Was it going to be Perry Hill or Jay Buhner?
Bone.
Oh, there's two bones.
Two bones, and that's Perry Hill. But Perry Hill, right, is underrated, right? I mean, obviously, what he's been able to do with that infield, and I think that's been an Achilles heel, at least the second base position for the most part, just keeping some stability, but also getting some hitting. I think we're going to find that could mesh now with who we have, and hopefully Polanco getting back and having his, him being healthy. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. How can we sustain healthy players over the course of 162 games?
Mike Cameron still looks like he could go out there and play.
And he can.
Doesn't he look like he could still go out there and pick it in center field?
And then you got Ichiro just out there. And that's the thing. Like you talk about the greatness that Seattle has, and I think it goes unnoticed when you look at the kid, when you look at Ichiro, you got Edgar, you got Buhner. I mean, those and the way they come back, Randy Johnson, Hall of Famer, right, to come back, it says a lot. But I think you also got to think about the pitching staff that we're going to have in place and what they're able to kind of build upon from what they experienced last year.
You mentioned coaching, and I know a guy that jumped out to both of us was Eric Young Jr., who's going to be the first base coach this year as Chris Negron moves across the diamond to third. First base coaches can kind of get overshadowed, right? Like, what do? They just hold on to everybody's gear once they get over there first. But I don't know. I was watching him, and he's down in like almost a sprinter stance. Like he's getting ready to steal a base himself.
Yeah.
Like he's going to bring a little something to that position.
You talk about somebody that actually still wants to play. I think EY can still do it, right? And I think what you find is he is in a position to where the Mariners had success last year with stealing bases, right? They were one of the most successful base stealing teams in the American League, if not the entire baseball, MLB. But now you put Eric Young in a position, and the emphasis that I saw at spring training was their ability to, one, take a primary lead, but two, how they get their first jump, right? And the timing of that. And I think, I'm not putting nothing out there. I don't want to make sure that anybody's listening, but you will see the Mariners steal a lot of bases.
Oh, they want to be aggressive. There's no doubt about that. Who did you bring down with you? What was the plan?
So we brought down one of our Baseball Beyond Borders teams. It was something that they did last year. They wanted to do it again this year. They came down, one, just to experience spring training. And I think the trip ultimately is about the ability to dream, right? And I think when you're able to see yourself in a position and you're walking on the same field that a J.P. Crawford's on, that a Julio is on, and then to have the interactions with those players, I think it gives them that inspiration to say, well, I can do that, and to also witness that those drills that we do inside of the Mariners Training Center every single day, for the course of 6 to 7 weeks, I'm seeing the same drills take place right here on the spring training field. So it's like, well, my coaches are actually teaching me something, right? Because what I see done by a professional player is what I'm doing every single day, and it's repetitive, right? And so that was the beauty of it. But they also got the chance to watch some baseball, and they played a little baseball.
Oh.
So they got a chance to see how well the development was taking place over the course of the fall.
Who did they end up talking to, meeting with? Who spent some time with them? What'd they learn?
JP is a big fan of the organization. So obviously JP came in, had the conversation. You also had George Kirby. George Kirby also has supported the organization, donated backpacks this past year.
What'd he say? What kind of stuff was he teaching?
So, George is up there talking about just like, what are your thoughts? He's asking the kids what their thought process is when it comes to when they get on the mound and how they go about in their approach to the game. But he just gave them some tips on arm care, right? And he didn't just talk about, what you do prior to getting onto the bump, but it's like, hey, when I'm having my off days, this is what I do. How am I having success, right? Why do I throw so many strikes? And I think the natural response that George presented to the kids was because I want to compete, right? I think, baseball, and he said this, hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do ever, right? I mean, we know that, right? I mean, you talk about you can only do it 3 out of 10 times, right? You're still having success. But the fact is it's even harder just to put the ball in play. And so if I have that and I take that mindset as a pitcher, I'm at an advantage to that batter. Because all I got to do is throw the ball in the middle of the plate. If they hit it, they hit it. Now, yes, you have to live with the result. And he has lived with the result on a couple balls that have gone 400, 500 feet in this case. But, that's just the bottom line. He says, I'm not afraid to compete, and I want to get on that bump, and I want to challenge the best hitters. I think one of our kids asks, who was the toughest hitter? And he says, I don't think I have one. I just want to pitch, right? It doesn't matter who's in that box. I just have to go up there and throw a strike.
Yeah, it's I love the kids are how old? These are
13, 14-year-olds.
Yeah, so I mean the perfect age to start to learn that what they're seeing out on the field isn't the entirety of what those guys are doing. They get to see the tip of the iceberg, the final product. But yeah, in someone like Kirby's case, any of the pitchers, what are you doing in the other 4 days?
That's right.
In the hitter's case, what are you doing? The game starts at 7:10. What are you doing at the ballpark starting at 3 o'clock or earlier every day to get yourself ready for the small part that we all get to see?
Absolutely. And I think, what you find is they saw failure. And oftentimes when you go to a big league stadium and you're going there, in a sense, during the season, you don't get the chance to see that because that failure really isn't on display as prominent. But when you go to a spring training experience and you got to practice and you're watching them develop and they're learning and you're seeing some of these up-and-coming stars, these prospects, they're failing. They're seeing them miss ground balls. They're seeing them do this. You often don't see that during the regular season. So that also gave them a glimpse of, man, they still have work to do. And that's the reason why they're here 3 to 4 hours prior to continue to develop and hone their skill.
What'd you think of the challenge system? A little tap of the head. You like the challenge?
Well, you didn't see much of it there. I don't care too much for it. I think it's just an opportunity for someone to complain, right? It gives a pitcher a chance to complain or a batter a chance to complain, and then eventually, if they end up right, now they got more.
They should take some of the complaining out, right? I mean, hey, I was right.
I would hope so, but I'm interested to see how our umpires respond. And I heard some unique responses
Ooh,
so far.
Some of them aren't so happy about it.
They're not, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see how well people challenge and how well the MLB adapts to it, and if it's really going to take.
Hey, just because it jumps out at me because you're working with so much in the youth sports world, we had a lot of conversation on the show a month or two ago. When this parent, did you see this at the on the hockey rink, came out and pushed the referee, 13-year-old kid. There was another, I think, 14-year-old kid that was out there. My daughter plays, and so we knew some of the people who were in the on the ice and in the rink at the time. I mean, it's just a really crazy story. How much do you, through the organization, spend time working with kids and or parents on the, how to treat players on the field, umpires, et cetera? How much of that is part of the program?
It's a huge focus on the program, and I think you're seeing this really take place across King County with the need to really focus on coach training and support. And obviously, you got nationally, Positive Coaching Alliance is trying to instill a lot of work that's in place, but the King County Play Equity Coalition has been pushing this need to train coaches on really what it means to address kind of failure, what it means to how do you even engage? And I think the organization has taken on this posture, and we talk to our parents often. And whenever we train our coaches, we train our parents because it's never really the coach that is the one having the issue with the referee.
So what you mean is if you do a training, you make sure the parents are there with the coaches or try to get them there to learn a lot of the same stuff to back it up.
And we want the players there. Because I think, oftentimes, players respond based on how their coaches respond. At the same time, they respond just how their parents are going to respond. And I think the one thing we actually told our parents during a parent meeting earlier this year was, hey, we're going to win and lose the same way, right? The joy that we experience when we have a victory is the same joy we're going to experience when we lose, right? It shouldn't change who we are. And I think that sets the mindset, that sets a tone. And we can't always look at the umpires based on the decisions or the referees on the decisions that they make because they are human. And I think one of the things that we do, and I do it specifically, when a kid gets upset or even when a coach or a parent might get upset, I look at that parent and I ask that parent, what did your kid do during that at-bat? And if they fouled off 2 balls before they took that call third strike, whose fault was it? The umpire? Was it your kid? Right? I mean, and you have to face that reality. And I think parents, coaches don't want to recognize that. Like, I can't get mad at nobody else, but I have to kind of question, did I do what I needed to do to make myself be successful?
Right.
And I can't point the finger and blame somebody else for the mistake of my ways.
All right, what do you guys have coming up?
So the greatest thing that's happening this weekend is the HBCU Seattle Series. This is a long time coming. It's been about 1.5 years in the works. That is taking place today. So we did have some schedule modifications because of the weather. It was supposed to be a 3-game series. It still is going to be a 3-game series. However, today's games are going to be a doubleheader, 12 o'clock p.m. and 3 o'clock p.m. Coppin State University playing against Seattle University Redhawks at Bannerwood Park in Bellevue.
Nice.
So if you haven't got your tickets, go get them. Make sure that you go and attend. This is building off of the 2023 Swingman Classic. When we had the HBCU Swingman Classic take place during that All-Star weekend, we saw a number of people come out in swathes just to watch an HBCU program, or at least HBCU All-Stars take place. But immediately following that, right, the community was asking, when is the next Swingman Classic? Well, it travels with All-Stars, so we won't see another Swingman Classic for another 15, 20 years potentially. So that then got me thinking, well, what can we do, and how do we strengthen and build the pipeline of HBC programs here in the Northwest? And so here we are today, March 14th, the first time that I've known, and Brock, Salk, you have to tell me, that an HBCU baseball team has played in Seattle.
This is it?
This from
this
my
is
knowledge,
it.
This is it.
That's awesome.
So let's mark the day.
It's Pi Day. We'll remember it forever. 3/14.
It sure is.
Absolutely.
You're right. Well, I didn't think about that.
Now we know. That would make it even easier.
Only you're probably thinking it's I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty awesome. Tell people if they haven't gotten tickets yet, where do they go?
They can go to baseballbeyond.org and you can purchase tickets there, or you can go to Seattle University or your local Ticketmaster website and you can find those tickets. But this is a great experience. Coach Reed, Coppin State, they are here. They are ready to play. 12 o'clock is the first pitch today, March 14th.
I love it. It's a great, great organization, and we're just so proud to partner with you guys at all and be a part of this, because what you guys do is important. It's incredibly well done, and we certainly appreciate you coming in. That's Bookie Gates. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot, Salk.